up, guys, and welcome in to Waiver Wire Sniping. This is heading into week 2, so we're Waiver Wire Sniping week 3 here on the Saturday edition of your Dynasty Warzone Network feed. So first off, if you're new to Waiver Wire Sniping, I've been doing this show for the last few years, a couple years on this network. The idea is that we're going to be looking ahead to the waiver wire of guys that you can pick up, stash on your bench for free, as usually on Sunday mornings, even Saturdays. Free agency is wide open, so you can add these players for free, and hopefully we're getting the jump. And these are all the players that people are going to be talking about next Tuesday on all those waiver wire shows. So you can add them right to the end of your bench for nothing, see what turns out on Sunday, and then maybe you got the jump on the rest of your league. So, of course, I'm your host, Kyle August. You can follow me on Twitter at KyleMonth8. Spent the month of August doing the Fellas Reunion show, so that was a ton of fun and really enjoyed hanging out with you guys and having Seth back. But throughout the season, every Saturday, going to bring you waiver wire sniping. So this is a strategy that I really think is valuable, especially for fantasy owners. And the thing is, these days, everything is so bogged down with material and podcasts and articles on the waiver wire. It's super hard to sneak something through. And at this point, I think that's kind of the case for a lot of things in fantasy. But this little look ahead piece, this way to snipe the rest of your league mates and they won't see what's coming, I think it's extremely valuable. So I'm going to take you through every single week. As we get into bye weeks, I'll note, what teams are going to be coming up on bye the following week and where to, fill in gaps for maybe players that you wouldn't otherwise look to usually start a guy over as, i.e. picking up a tight end a week early to cover Travis Kelce for you or something along those lines. Obviously, streaming is a big thing as well for a lot of you out there, so I'm going to help you out the best I can. So if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to see all these players and ownership percentages and matchups here on the screen. If you're just listening to the audio version, appreciate you checking it out. But I highly recommend checking out the YouTube video, not to see my face, but to see all of these notes as well. So here we go. Going to put it up on the screen. And we're going to start with the quarterback position. Obviously, no buys heading into week 3. So my top quarterback, really, I don't really think there's a guy inside the top 12-ish at quarterback that I'm bailing on just yet 1 week into the season. I think you have maybe some concerns about how Geno Smith looked as an example. But otherwise, I'm probably sticking with who brung me so far. But I would look to the quarterback position if you're streaming, if you took a guy maybe a little bit later, or if you owned Aaron Rodgers, of course. So my top quarterback pickup, I think is Matthew Stafford at Cincinnati in week 3, is 35% owned. My cutoff line for ownership percentages, I do use Yahoo ownership percentages, but I use 50%. So anything that's owned in more than 50% of leagues, not going to be featured here. So anytime you're looking to stash a guy, maybe there's a guy that's a little bit more owned. I did this across a bunch of my leagues this morning. Kadarius Toney was dropped in a few of my, deeper leagues even. So guys like that, you should double check to make sure they're available. But everybody I'm going to bring you here, 50% or less. Matthew Stafford, 35% owned at Cincinnati, be my top streamer. Then he's kind of in a tier of his own, in my opinion, right now. The other two guys here are a little bit more flyers. I do like the matchup in week 3 for Kenny Pickett at 32% owned. Going up against the Raiders, I think you just got to see a little bit more out of Pickett. We're going to get to watch him on Monday Night Football in week 2. So you're going to see it's a tougher matchup against the Browns, but as long as he shows a little bit of improvement, if I am looking to stream, like if I am the Rodgers owner, I'm not sure, I don't mind stashing Kenny Pickett. And number 3 is just more of an upside play. At Jacksonville should not be a bad matchup for rookie C.J. Stroud, 10% owned. He did pop up on the injury report late in the week. So again, just want to take another look at this guy and see if he's making that progress. The one thing I did like is he did have about a little over 20 rushing yards. If that's part of his game, he's going to be much more valuable for fantasy, and he's definitely being overlooked. So just 10% on C.J. Stroud. Heading to the running back position, I got 7 guys that I'm looking to stash if I can, and then I'll roll through some high-value, just handcuff guys. But top of the board is Roschon Johnson, 31% owned. When you look at the overall snap share and what he saw in week 1, it more came in garbage time than the box score is going to tell you. So I'm not sure that it's going to be like a dead even split between him and Khalil Herbert, and Foreman's still going to work his way in a little bit there. But I do think there's a possibility that Roschon could overtake the incumbent starter there, and the rookie's only 31% owned. He's definitely a guy that I'm looking to stash. Number 2 is Jaylen Warren. We saw him splitting with Najee Harris in a game that the game script got crazy out of whack, especially going up against a tough 49ers offense in week 1. But I still like what we saw out of Warren in the preseason, even dating back to last year. He was more explosive than Najee Harris, and he's 41% owned. I'm stashing this guy, and he could be a flex play for you as we get into the bye weeks. And if he takes over Najee's role as the starter, then you got yourself a gem. Number 3 at 36% owned is Zach Moss. I know that the running back position for the Indianapolis Colts is not necessarily a gold mine right now, but Deion Jackson played so horrible. Zach Moss sounds like he's going to return in week 2. Definitely a guy I'm looking to stash. Kendre Miller, the rookie, 13% owned. He should be back this week. He had a limited practice throughout the week, but if he can make his debut, again, just somebody I'm looking to stash. That's the whole point of this. No risk here, really. If you have an empty roster spot, looking to put him on my bench. Number 5, I did put Justice Hill here. He's 43% owned. He was a very popular waiver wire pickup this week. I don't necessarily think he's going to get the lion's share of the workload. I think at best he's at a split with Gus Edwards, with the possibility of them bringing somebody in to replace J.K. Dobbins. So I put him on the list because he did qualify, but I did rank them here. I put him 5th. Number 6 is Tank Bigsby, 40% owned. This is a guy kind of similar to Miller, that again was a mid-round pick in your fantasy draft, and after a rough week 1, he was dropped in some leagues. So his ownership is dipped below the line, where I'm definitely going to pick him up. And I think there could be a timeshare enough here in Jacksonville down the line as we get later into the season, where he could be a flex play for you. And number 7 is Sean Tucker, 4% owned in Yahoo leagues right now. That Tampa Bay backfield probably won't produce a ton of fantasy points, but Tucker, the undrafted rookie free agent, has had a lot of positive reports. He's already number 2 on the depth chart, saw 5 carries in week 1. And if Rachaad White continues to kind of be mediocre, maybe they do look to work the rookie in a little bit more. I'm going to give you 5 running back handcuffs. These are guys that I'm not necessarily stashing based off of their potential ability to take over the starting role, like a Roschon or Kendre Miller potentially, overtaking their guys. These are more guys that I'm going to stash more as just pure handcuffs. So Tajay Spears, 16% owned, Chuba Hubbard, 17% owned, Zamir White, 5% owned, and then Ford in Cleveland, 9% owned. These are guys, again, I'm just trying to stash. If all those other guys on the list are kind of taken and you just want a running back flyer just for the week, not that we're ever rooting for injuries, but it is what it is. And if you got to get the advantage, you get the jump on your league mates. I'm stashing these high value handcuffs where I have extra spots. Where this is especially going to come into play as we get later into the season is if you're rostering an extra wide receiver, maybe a tight end or whatever for an injury, and your starter is playing, you don't need to worry about that any longer. Those are the types of guys that I'm just going and looking around. And Zamir White is going to be a guy that I'm just going to constantly recycle on Saturday, Sunday mornings onto my team, in hopes that maybe I strike gold. We saw that kind of with Kyron Williams last week. I saw a couple people do that in leagues that I was in, and now they're sitting on a pretty valuable piece. I will note running back IR stash, Jeff Wilson, 26% owned. Make sure you're using every single roster spot available. If you have IR spots, you should be putting players in there. If your league allows you to put players in that are out, you should be doing that. You should always be leveraging every spot that you have. Personally, I'm always dropping my kicker if I'm in a league with kickers, and I'm stashing extra player throughout the week. And then I'll add a kicker at the last minute. But Jeff Wilson, 26% owned, is a great IR stash, as the Miami Dolphins have not brought anyone in yet. So it's just Raheem Mostert and then the healthy scratch of the rookie A-Chain. So moving on to the wide receivers, there's some good names here. Kind of cheated. There's almost 10 here, so I'll roll through them quick. You guys know a lot of these names at the top. The ownership percentages just dropped enough that I think they're valuable pickups. Romeo Doubs, 47% owned, caught 2 touchdowns in limited snap share last week. I think even when Christian Watson's back on the field healthy, Doubs is still going to be he could be the number 1 target there as far as volume goes. I really like him as a wide receiver 3, and the fact that he's under 50% owned is crazy to me. Number 2 is just buying the dip on Kadarius Toney, 47% owned, and Sky Moore, 50% owned. I kind of combined them here at number 2 on my list because I had him behind Doubs, but for me, Toney would be the priority if the 2 are available. I just want to see, is a 1-week scratch-off ticket, see if they bounce back, but someone's got to catch passes, right? Everyone keeps saying it. Someone's got to catch passes. Maybe it's nobody. Maybe that's just spread too far, too thin, and it's Kelsey, and that's it. But I do think Toney will be the guy as for fantasy owners, and Morse did see a lot of snaps last week, just didn't get the opportunities. Will that change in week 2 with Kelsey back? Quentin Johnston, the rookie, 45% owned. I know I picked him up this morning in a league. Again, if you drafted Quentin Johnston in the middle rounds or 9th round, whatever, and you were disappointed by his week 1 performance, what were you expecting? These are long-term plays when you're drafting these rookie receivers. Obviously, we love what we saw from Zay Flowers, but guys like JSN, Quentin Johnston, if you're not being patient enough on these guys, you shouldn't be drafting them to your team regardless, but I'm definitely stashing them if my league mates are bailing. Zay Jones, 46% owned. We saw him playing on the outside with Calvin Ridley as the every down receiver. Christian Kirk relegated to slot work. So I don't mind even Zay Jones, not only as a stash, but even as a plug and play if you're super stuck this week. with a matchup against the Chiefs, but he's a stash for me. Allen Robinson, 11% owned, was already playing that slot role for the Steelers, and now with Deontay Johnson out for potentially a month, Allen Robinson, I think, is going to be just a guy that you're okay plugging in a flex spot, where you're already starting 3 wide receivers. I think he could be, a 10 to 12 point PPR guy for you. Josh Reynolds, 9% owned. Don't forget about the man. I know he played on Thursday, so we just forgot that he existed, but he had a pretty nice game against the Chiefs, and as long as Jameson Williams is out, he could be the number 2 receiver there for the Lions. Number 7 is Michael Gallup. Not sure if Brandon Cooks is going to play this week. If his absence is extended, I don't mind having Michael Gallup stashed on my team as we're approaching the bye weeks here in a few weeks. And number 8 is the combination of 2 just very low-owned Houston Texans receivers. We saw Noah Brown go on IR for the Houston Texans. So rookie Tank Dell, 4% owned, and second-year player looking to make his debut this week, John Mechie, he's only 3% owned. So if you're in a deeper league, 4% owned Tank Dell, 3% owned John Mechie. I love those guys as just stash candidates. See which one pans out. Robert Woods saw a lot of looks. These are young receivers. So again, I'm buying into these guys as kind of long-term stash plays if I can. An IR stash at wide receiver. He's not on IR technically, but Wan'Dale Robinson, 2% owned. He's likely going to be out. So if you can stash him in an IR spot this week, again, I'm just looking to, use up all my roster spots. Deep league stash. I'll throw this out there. 1% owned in Yahoo leagues, but I saw him owned getting picked up in a bunch of dynasty leagues this week. Trey Palmer, rookie wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Bucks. They're already kind of short there with the Russell Gage injury in the preseason, and he got a lot of looks in his debut last week. So deep league stash. Double check those dynasty waiver wires. Usually not a lot out there, but I like Trey Palmer. As we move into the tight ends, real quick shout out to my boy Mike in the chat. Jumped on with us live as we're live streaming this. He said Zay Jones or Scary Terry this week. Man, it's tough to bench Terry just because he's the more talented player. But he was limited in week 1. Is that going to continue? I'd still go McLaurin. It's a little bit more wait and see for me. So for Jones, he's probably just below him. Usually he's probably at least a tier or 2 below McLaurin in a good day. But I'm still going to roll Scary Terry this week for you there, Mike. So appreciate you checking out the show. Last position we're going to be talking about, these are streamers. So I'm going to give you matchups here. Tight end Jake Ferguson in week 3. He gets the Arizona Cardinals. I don't mind him as a stream even this week in week 2. But if you're looking as a stash candidate, Ferguson did see 7 targets. He had a bad drop, but I think that the Cowboys offense didn't need to do a lot in week 1. Obviously, they're playing the Jets week 2, which is a tougher matchup, but a cake matchup in week 3 against the Arizona Cardinals. So I like Ferguson at 37% on. Luke Musgrave, the rookie tight end, saw plenty of targets as a rook. Would have had a touchdown, but just fell down and catching a wide open pass against the Bears in week 1 at New Orleans, 23% owned. Musgrave is one of these rookie tight ends that I think could be valuable as a tight end 10 to 12 on the year. Zach Ertz saw 10 targets in his return to the field after the knee injury last year. He's only 9% owned. He gets Dallas in week 3, so don't necessarily love the matchup. That's why he's 3rd on my list. But if you're looking for a tight end replacement or even just a stash candidate, Ertz saw so many targets. He's not going to be a prolific tight end like he used to be for fantasy, but I think he can be solid as the target share was super high for him last week, more than expected. And last but not least, Adam Troutman. Dolchich dealing with an injury. He's doubtful for this week, so I doubt he's going to play. Troutman saw 5 targets in week 1. He's only 4% owned at Miami in week 3. So there you have it. I will have DST streamers for you guys next week. Didn't have them for you this week just because I don't play in any leagues with DSTs outside of maybe 1 or 2. So not on my radar. I apologize, but I wanted to get this show out to you guys. So appreciate you guys checking out this show. Again, going to be back every single weekend, giving you the look ahead on your waiver wire. So go ahead, scroll through your teams. Once you get those lineups set, if there's any open roster spots you don't need, or if there's a better stash candidate on your wire, grab them now, because you're going to feel really good when that player's already on your roster and he's featured in every single waiver wire show, article, what have you, across the interwebs come Tuesday. So, all right, good luck in week 2, and we'll catch you next week. We'll see you.